Yeah, well, Chairman, you had 7 months now at the Hawthorns. How have you taken to life at the Albion?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the way I've been able to settle into the club. That's no doubt helped by the background of results. I mean, we are by any stretch of the imagination doing well, sat in eighth position as we know, and that has helped. But generally speaking, I found everybody at the club to be very, very welcoming, very homely, very professional. So they've made that settling in, that transition for me very easy.
You came in the, I guess, the midst of a whirlwind, really, with all the change in ownership, the transfer window and so forth. Going on from that position to where we are now, I mean, you must be pleased with the way things have gone.
I am indeed, yes. It was a bit. I mean, clearly, the very fact that you change ownership is in itself something you cannot possibly underestimate, because there are issues surrounding that. That obviously meant a change of chairman as well as owner. But as you say, the proof of the pudding, I think, is in the results, and it's settled down quite well. We got through the summer and had a reasonably successful window, which I'd like to think we've carried on in January, and so far so good, but never too complacent. Very difficult business, most difficult league probably in the world of sport in terms of its competitiveness. And points are like gold dust. You work all week. It's a very strange business. You work all week with one goal in mind, and at 10 to 5 on a Saturday, it's either ended in glory or defeat. So it remains a difficult business, but at the moment we're on track.
I think you must be particularly happy that the transition, the changes have been pretty seamless, and while those changes have gone on, we've continued to make steady steps forward.
Yes, as I say, we're very lucky. My impressions of the club, all aspects of the club, down here at the training ground, up at the stadium, which we've had a lot of changes, including, I may say, a new chief executive, and replacing Mark Jenkins was always going to be a task in its own right. It added, if you like, to the scale of the changes. But I do think that the success of the club, the strength of the club, particularly down here at the training ground, but as I say, everywhere, is that everybody pulls together. There's a good atmosphere. People are working to the same end, and it is a question of the sum of the parts is definitely greater than any individual.
I think one of the things that we've been successful in doing is keeping our heads well. Perhaps others around us have been losing theirs. You look at the August window, and now pound for pound, I don't know whether you can find any better buys than Phillips and Chadley and Nyan, perhaps.
No, there was a flavour around at the time that the window wasn't perhaps as successful as some of our stakeholders or supporters would have liked. I think that probably was. That was against the background of the changes that they were. Change is not something that people take too kindly generally. It doesn't always mean good. Sometimes people fear change inside and outside the organisation. And, some of the progress that we made in the summer window may not have been as obvious at the time of making the change. But as you say, the additions to the team have worked extremely well for the squad, and as I say, I think we carried that through with the addition of Jake in January, and all the time now, in subsequent windows, we'll be trying to improve that little bit more.
Still a lot of football to play this season, but we're at the moment on course for perhaps the best Premier League season. I mean, what do you put that down to on the field?
Great dressing room. Good bunch of players, a lot of experience, excellent coach, good coaching. Everybody knows their job, and a real desire to. I think the players that were here before the summer window have seen the quality of player that have come in, and that's helped everybody. Everybody seems to work well with each other, and I think they all understand that we're all pulling in the same direction. Tony signing an extra year on his contract sent out a message of some stability, and I think it is that. It's a balance of stability, experience, some new faces, and people knowing their job and working very hard. It's a very good dressing room, and long may it continue.
You obviously had a lot of experience at Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn's not a dissimilar town to West Bromwich, same sort of economic challenges and so forth. Obviously getting people into the Hawthorns is a particular challenge in these economic times. I mean, how do we look to keep moving that forward?
Yeah, that is an area where we do need to make some improvements, changes. It won't come overnight. Clearly you have to continue to win football matches. We are doing that. People do like to see a winning team. They like to see goals, and I think only, outside the top four, I think we've probably, the top six, we've scored more goals at home than anybody else. So results are going well in that respect. But it does take time. People are taking their football in different ways these days. It's harder perhaps to capture some of the younger generation than it was before. We certainly perhaps need to do more in the sort of family area, the junior areas and so on. We need to be a little more innovative, there's no doubt about that. And, Martin Goodman will work hard with a new commercial team to ensure that is exactly what we do.
You mentioned Martin Goodman, and off the field, as you said, several changes have been made over the piece, and that also takes its time to come through and come to fruition.
It has. It has. I mean, the real scale of the changes are, as I say, there's a change of ownership, a change of chief executive, a new commercial team, and a new chairman, if you like. These things do take time to bed in. I think the new people to the club, as I said earlier, have all been made very welcome, and the ability of the people here to get on with their jobs and do their jobs has made that settling in process easy for us. But not to be underestimated. People, new faces do need to understand the culture, what has worked in the past, what hasn't worked, where we should make changes, where we shouldn't make changes. Certainly that's true off the field. As I say, we've got some continuity now on the field, but equally we're still trying to evolve the squad. That's part of the business. You can't stand still in this business. Standing still is the equivalent of going backwards. But good platform laid down by the previous, by Jeremy and Mark, which shouldn't be underestimated. But it's nice to have some solid ground beneath the feet, but climbing the ladder that gives you an opportunity to climb remains difficult.
I mean, I suppose that brings on to the final question, the big question: what are the kind of the short term and the long term ambitions for the club?
I think they're not dissimilar in as much that, as I've just alluded to, the club has established itself in the Premier League. That's not to be underestimated. But as I say, once you do that, taking small steps forward is incredibly difficult. You've got to win matches, you've got to find the right players and the right balance of people surrounding the players in order to do that. The idea is to build on what I hope will be a top 10 finish, but there's still 13 games to go. I hope we'll be able to maintain the sort of points per game that we've got at the current running rate. If we can do that, we'll be fine. Building on that next year is going to depend on adding new faces in the summer, and again in the winter if an opportunity presents itself. And it's slow, small steps, but they're not. It's not to be. That should not be taken as in any way as a lack of ambition. It's not easy when you look at the sheer quality and resources of the clubs that sit above us. It's quite a daunting challenge. But what a great challenge for everybody associated with West Brom to take on board.
I suppose that's kind of underlined by the fact there was a recent table of all time. Top flight teams in Albion came in 11th all time, so we're kind of batting above the average at the minute.
Yeah, well, it's always nice to be to have be on the right side, if you like, of the averages. But it's comfortable. It never feels like that. Of course, not for me. I'm not a worrier as such, but I'm a terrible watcher of a game. And at 3 o'clock on Saturday, I get absorbed into my little bubble that I don't really come out of until 5 o'clock. And as I say, you're either very happy or moderately happy or sad. But I do feel that the club is certainly moving in the right direction. I think our new owners have been terrific. They've given us the right balance of support, but at the same time they're not overbearing. They're letting people that they see as the experts get on with the job. So I do think adding all those things up, the future is looking good.